Okay, this is ITS128, and we are I'll switch over to the so you can see my screen here. And today is the 14th of November, this day. And so we are on the last, this is the last day of chapter 7. And so, and you notice I do not have listed chapter 8 here where we go 7 to 9. I actually am going to cover just a little bit of chapter 8 having to do with character strings. Let's see. So, okay. And so, let's see. Last week, I ended by covering the end of chapter or assignment 10. Okay, so if you recall, in this class, the last time we met, I covered a sort of a quick way to get through assignment 10. And then what happened was I forgot to hit the record button. That was this class last time, right? Yeah. And so what I did was on the next two classes, which were the other section, I actually started with chapter 8, with assignment 8, and I did that from start to finish, and I actually saved it and showed you how to do that. And then in the same hour, I went to I started with my finished assignment 8 and did assignment 9, and this video is only like about 10 minutes or so. No, it's about 15 minutes.
All right.
Stop this. And then so this was in the other section, and this one here was in the other section also. And this is in this assignment. I start with my assignment 9 and I go all the way to assignment 10. And I complete assignment 10 up to, see, I did not finish this last part. Let's see, let me go back to the assignment. This last thing here, add a function to your program where the user can enter a name and click a button to see if the person is in my list or not. If we, there's a real quick and dirty way of accomplishing that. If we go back to our textbook, and we go look at at the end of chapter 7, when we talk about collections. A collection is like an array. Let's see if I can find collections here. Two-dimensional arrays and jagged arrays. Oh, lists. List collection. A list collection is very similar to an array, except for it's got some interesting things that are different. First of all, you don't have to specify the length, the maximum length of a list. You just add to it. So a list uses up as much memory as however many items are in the list, and so it's dynamic. Whereas with an array in C#, you specify the size of the array, and the array is going to take up that much space no matter how many actual elements you're using in that array. The list isn't that way. So the way you declare a list is you use the word list, and then you say the type of each element in the list, and then this is the name of the list. This let me switch over here so you can see this. we start with the we use this list word, and then we have a anyway. So this is how you declare it. This declares a collection of lists of strings. This declares a list of integers, and you can initialize it the same kind of way. And I think maybe because these must be pictures or something. But then adding things to the list, you do it this way. Well, this is exactly like how you add to the list box. You use the same sort of methods, and these methods are that's because a list box is actually a list. It's a list of strings, and so when you read this section, it discusses the ways. This is how you add to it. Let me do that. And this is how you remove. So here you can specify an index. So you can refer to elements or to different items in the list by an index. You can also specify a actual the string itself that you, for example, if you want to remove. Here, this removes the index, or this removes the item at index 0. This removes the bill from the list if bill is in there. C# list methods. Add range, binary search, clear. That's familiar. Contains contains, converts, equals, find. If you want to find something in a list, find index. Index, where's index of? Index of. Okay, so so this here is a method that you can use to ask if a particular item is in a list, and if it is, it returns the index of it. So let me download my assignment 10. The assignment 10 I worked on last week, which is here. So here, open it up. And while this is opening up, let me go, and I'd like to tell you about assignment 11 here. Okay, so for assignment 11, I started with assignment 10, and I've added a few things. So you recall that here I've just summarized what I did from assignment 7 to 11, or whichever it was, 8, 9, 10, 11, yeah, 7 to 10. So this just summarizes that, and when you're done, you should end up with something like here, like this thing, this diagram, or this thing I have here, graphic. This is sort of how it should look, something like this. Your assignment 10 should look something like this. You've got a load. You can load in a file. You can. So this here is up to assignment 10, and you should end up with something like this. And the load file here, it asks you, a dialog box pops up, asks you to load a file. This is the contents of the load file. You type in a friend's name, you click on this button, and it'll reply whether or not it's in the list and give you the index number. That's what I didn't do in the last in this video, in the last video. That's the part I missed. Here you enter in a name, you click this, you add a friend here. Once this thing changes from the file, then this thing comes to life, and you can click that to save it. You select somebody, and you click on this, and that unfriends them, and then this exits. This is the file name. So for assignment 11, I realize I forgot something. I forgot to put something in here, but I'll add that. Change the array of names to a two-dimensional array with 2 columns. So it's a two-dimensional array. So I'll cover that a little bit. The first column holds the first name, and the second column holds the last name. The user enters the friend's name, first name, last name, just like you do now. So it's just going to be first name space last name, and then I want you to use the string split function and method, and that will return. What that'll do is that'll split where the space is, and it'll return an array. It'll return an array with 2 elements. It'll return a string array with 2 elements. The first element will be the first name, and the second element will be the last name. And the split, since you don't specify an actual split character, it defaults to a space. You can specify some other split character. You can specify like a comma, in which case the comma would be the split character. You can specify a tab or anything else. But if you don't specify anything, it defaults to the space, which is what we want in this case. And so then that splits it into an array, a string array containing 2 elements. The first name is in the first one, the last name is in the second one. And then I want you to store and display the names in alphabetical order by last name. And I'll show you how to do that. It's actually pretty simple. We simply insert starting at the bottom of the array, and we shift the name up the array until it's in its correct position alphabetically. And so we have a while loop that looks like this, which compares the this is the new name 1 would be the last name, and we compare that with the last name that's in the array, and we use the case insensitive comparison. That's what the true is. And if what is returned is greater than 0, that means the first one is higher up or comes later alphabetically than the second one here, which means it's still out of order alphabetically. So then in the while in here, in the while part, you would exchange, you would simply exchange them. So I'll show you that. And then I also want you to fix the names so the first letter is capitalized and the rest of the letters are lowercase. That's pretty easy to do also. So and there's one other thing I want you to do, and that is I want you to use okay, this is easy. I just basically just showing you a few tricks here. For the file name, I'd like you to display just this, the last name, the last part, instead of all this other stuff in the beginning. And the way you do that is you do the split thing again. Use a split, except for the character to split on, you split on a backslash. So it's going to put, it's going to put, let's see if this will work. I probably won't. Change the color here. It's going to put this in the first as the 0th element of this string array that it passes back. This is going to be the 0th element. This is going to be the first element. This is going to be the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th. So it'll pass back a 10-element array, string array, and you just look for the last element. So it's, the last element is going to be an index of 9, and that's the element that you use, and that would be this element here. So that's how you do that. So that'll be the 5th thing here. I forgot to add that. I'll add that. All right, so let's go back to here. I have to sign in. All right. So let me start this up. This is the one I finished at the end of the last class. Looks like this. And we can load the file from something, desktop. And there's some names, and you can add a friend's name. Adds it in. This thing lights up now. Save it back out. I can't think of any names. All right. Now, let me just throw in this easy way of determining if the name is present, and if it is, returns the index. Now, okay. So first of all, let me just throw a button on there. I'm gonna put it here. I'm gonna put this over here. Put this up here. And let's see, whatever. See, on this button, it's going to say friend present or something, whatever it says. So that's what this says. You type in a name and you click on this and it says whether the friend is in the list or not. And I'm going to name this button ETN friend present. And so let me double click on it. And what you can do is you can use the index of method that works with list items. And you can say if lstNames.items.indexOf parentheses txt. That's the trouble. That's why this is such a bad convention. I'm going to name this thing txtName.Input. txtNameInput.text. If it's oh, I got to do this too. Index integer index equals that just that. So if this is in this, then this will return what the index is. If it's not in there, it's going to return an index of -1. So I can just do if index is less than 0, then is there a problem? Then message box show. I'm going to do this. Text name input.txt is not in your friend list. Otherwise, else message box show txtName.Input.txt plus is at index plus index. Okay, so this should work. Let's see. So let me load a file. Shoots, I didn't save that last one, didn't I? Too bad. So I can say Mary Smith and click on here, and it says Mary Smith is indexed at index 2. And if I go Joe Jones, friend present, Joe Jones is not in your friend list. All right, so this is a simple way of doing it. Now, of course, the problem with this way is that it doesn't recognize lowercase. Doesn't recognize oh, of course, it's not going to recognize that. But if you go Mary Smith friend list, it does not recognize that. But that's okay for now. You can do it either way. I know some of you who have done this assignment already have probably gone in and started with something like this, where we search and we try to find the person in there. You can do it either this way, or you can do if string compare parentheses array friends index plus, that works, I guess, comma new name comma true duplicate equals true equals 0. This returns an integer by mistake. This returns an integer if the integer is greater than 0, then this is higher alphabetically than this. If it's equal to 0, then these are the same, ignoring case, that's that. If this returns a negative number, then a -1 precisely, then that means that this comes earlier alphabetically than this. All right, so this may be a preferred way than this. It doesn't really matter. Since you're just testing equality, then you can do it this way. But of course, if you're going to test alphabetical order, this is the only way to do it. All right. So I don't mind which way you do it, because later on it'll become mute with assignment 11, because with assignment 11 we're going to make it so everybody goes in there where their first name is their first letter is capitalized and the rest of their name is lowercase. You know, there'll be that correction in there, and then they should all be the same cases. All right, so let's see what else. See if there was anything else in chapter 10 that we. That's still there. This is still there. Loser clicks on. Yeah, that was there. Indicates. So I didn't have that. I had to disable the save button. That's what this is. All right, so it's 3:53. Okay, so I'm going to start I think I'll start doing some of these things for assignment 11. And so I'm going to start with assignment 10 here. That's this. This is my assignment 10. I'll change the name of it later. And let's see, the first thing I'm going to do is I think I'm going to start doing the array part. So let me open this up. And I haven't done this assignment yet, but let me, I should have enough time. This goes to 4:30. Let me start by making the two-dimensional array. So first of all, let's, I'm gonna just create a second array on top of this, and I'm gonna sort of switch over. I'm not gonna change array friends to two-dimensional array. I'm gonna create a new array and then sort of switch over that way. That way stuff can stay working. So I'm gonna create a new, private, another string array. And this time it's gonna be a two-dimensional array, so I put a comma there. Means there's gonna be two indexes, and I'm gonna name it array array friends, I'll rename it this, friends 2D. I'll just name it that. Equals a new string, and the size is going to be size, that's the number of names that it can hold, and then it's going to be two dimensions because the 0th index, okay, this is like rows and columns, okay, so it's going to be up to 1,000 rows, and it's going to be 2 columns. The first column is going to be the first name, and the second column is going to be the last name. This can stay the same. I'll leave that in there. Okay, add name is going to add it to an array. It's going to add it to this array. Let me do this in order. Let's first get the load file. Here's load file. Here we're reading in. Here we're reading it in. Okay, so all right, I'm gonna first of all, I'm gonna take this double plus plus deal out of there, and I'm gonna plus plus it as a second statement. Right here, I'm gonna put in. I'm gonna put it in where it loads it into the other array. So I gotta say. Let's see. Let me do this. String name input name in is name in equals that, and then I'm going to say this equals name in. Okay, so that takes care of. So that still works. And then I want to do, let's see, string names equals name in split space. All right, so string name. So now we've got names 0 and names 1. Name 0 should be the first name. Names 1 should be the last name. In fact, I'm going to do a little message box here just to make sure. Let's see. First name colon quote plus names 1, name 0 plus comma last name colon plus names 1. So I'm going to read in the name. I'm going to throw it in this array here. I'll throw it into our legacy single dimension array. And I will split it into the first name, last name, and I'm going to display it out just to make sure it works right. And then when that works right, I'm going to say array friends 2D first free index, comma 0 equals name equals names 1, name 0, sorry, and array friends 2D first free index, comma 1 equals names 1. Okay? And then this thing increments. So this is going to be what happens when it loads in the file. Let me just see this working here, and it's gonna stop me every time we read a new. I'm gonna do this one again. First name Joe, last name Schmo. Fred Johnson, Mary Smith. There they are. All right, great. That works. So now it's loaded in. Oh, we're loading it into the array. I guess I should do that alphabetizing thing here, shouldn't I? I've added it onto the end. I've added it onto the end. So the name I just added is at the end, and I'm going to assume that we will assume that the list is already alphabetized. And each time we add a new name, we will make sure that it's alphabetized after we add it. That might not make a lot of sense to you right now, but let's. But I think after I'm done, this should make sense. So I want to first compare while I'm going to start with index. Int index equals first free index. I start with that. While the array friends 2D of index, comma 1, while that is so that's the name, that's the last name of the name that was just added. While that last name is less than the one above it, then I want to exchange those two. So to do that, I do string compare. While string compare of this one, comma the one above it, which is array friends 2D index minus 1, comma 1, true. So I'm going to do a case insensitive compare. While this is less than 0, I want to exchange them. The way I exchange them is I say string temp first equals array friends 2D index minus 1, comma 0. That is the storing the first name. String temp last equals array friends index minus 1, 1. Okay, that's, I've stored the last name. I've grabbed the first name and the last name, and now I have to say array friends 2D index minus 1, comma 0 equals array friends index, comma 0, and array friends index minus 1, comma 1 equals array friends 2D index minus 1, comma 1. And then I have to say, this probably isn't, you probably aren't following this unless you've seen bubble sort before. Array friends 2D index comma 0 equals temp first, and array 2D index comma 1 equals temp last. Okay, so what have I just done here? All right, so I have just loaded in this new name at first free index. And so, so then I set index into first free index. And now remember, in the first time this happens, first free index is going to be 0, because the first free index is 0. And so it's going to compare, there is no index minus 1, that's index minus 1. So I don't want to, index is greater than 0. So I'm going to, if index is greater than 0, display that message box, because if index is equal to 0 and we display this message box, I'm going to get an error because 0 minus 1 is minus 1, and there is no array friends 2D index of minus 1, and that'll throw an exception. So I'm going to skip that. And this will be avoided also because this only works when index is greater than 0. So let me try this, see if this changes anything. What? Oh no, I don't want this. Copy. Okay. Oh, that's why. That's why. I got to put this comparison on the other side. That's why. Now let's see if this works. See if this works now. Compare Schmo with Johnson, compare Schmo with Johnson, compare Schmo. Okay, now it's working. Wow. Woohoo. So let me add, okay. So that looks like that works. Now, where do I add a name? Where do I add a name? I add a name right up here, and I just put it in at the bottom, don't I? So I'm going to change this here to, I'm going to go like this. Insert name, first name, last name. Okay, and then I'm going to take this and I'm going to go down here and I'm going to say private, insert, void, insert name, first name, last name. Let's see, is this, and I'm going to paste this here, and I'm going to call this first name, and I'm going to call this last name. And what's the matter with it? Oh, I got to say something like string. Is that what I got to do? Does that work like that? No, I guess string. Yeah, and up here I got to say name 0, name 1, names 1, names 0. Okay, so I've just I've just popped that into a method now. And hopefully this method will take care of it for me. So now when I want to insert a name, I'll just call that method. Let's see if this works. Load file, what's the difference? Is this one? Shmo. Okay, that looks right. Let me get rid of that message box. I don't need this message box anymore. All right, so insert name. So I'm going to use insert name up here. Add name. Here is where I'm going to end up destroying. I'm going to bypass this. Where's the load file? This here. I think, actually, I think I can do this name splitting inside. I'm going to do this name split thing inside. In here. All right, so I just made the whole thing be a parameter into this insert name, and then in here I split it. So this insert name works. So I'm going to put that right up here. I read in a new name, and I'm going to basically forget all this stuff here. Let me just say insert name, new name. And I'm going to go ahead and comment this out. I have to add that into my insert. I have to add this logic into my insert name because this thing tests to see if there's a duplicate or not. Okay, so now this should insert right directly in. My save is not going to work because. Okay, so I can load the file. I thought I got rid of this. Where is that? Oh, here. I don't need this one here. Okay. Okay, there's that. Now I can add a name, Rich Halverson. Yeah, it adds it right in. Anna Anderson. Look at that. It's Hal Cor. How do you spell it? Coran. Coran. Wow, it's working. Zed Zanzibar. Zanzibar. No. Al Zanzibar. Oh, that works. Okay, it loads it in alphabetically. All right, so now that I've done this, I will, I think I'll, see, I can edit this video. I will edit this video and probably make it about 20 minutes explaining this part. But anyway, so what I've done is I've shown you how to modify this where instead of inserting, where when we insert the name, we use this method here, which takes the name, splits it into first name, last name, and then it loops, inserting the name, starting at the bottom. It puts it at the bottom, and then it and then it bubbles it up. It keeps comparing it alphabetically with the name just above it. And if the name above it should be after it, then it exchanges it. So this compares, well, first of all, it sees if we're at the end of the list. If we're at the end of the list, in other words, if index is equal to 0, we don't want to even go any further here, because if index is equal to 0, then this test is going to cause it to throw an exception. That's what was happening before. So that's why we have to put the test at first, because if this ends up being false, then this isn't even going to be, this comparison is not even going to be executed or compared. But as long as index is 1 or greater, that means it's still bubbling up the list. It compares the one it's looking at with the one just above it, and it's comparing the last names. That's why this is a 1, case insensitive. And if this one falls before it alphabetically than the one above it, then this would return a -1, saying it's out of order. And then if it's out of order, then this does the exchange. This also is often done in a method, because it's, you know, this is a lot of lines, and the exchanges, you know, may be done often. In this case, the exchange is only done once, so it's not, so we don't need to actually put this in a separate method. This is already in a separate method. All right, so anyway, class is over. I will, we are recording, aren't we? Yes. So I will edit this video and shorten it up, and see you next time.